Okay, we are on chapter 22, page 367 at the top, part 2. That's where she was, he is saying. Number 118. Admin hasn't coughed up enough dough to get the walls patched yet, so for now we're just leaving it as is. Not a lot of money around here for improvements. Alex is watching me. All his control and confidence has vanished. His eyes are blazing with anger or maybe pain. His mouth is twisted into a grimace. My head feels full of noise. Alex holds up his hand like he's thinking of blocking my progress. Our eyes meet for just a second and something flashes between us. A warning, or an apology maybe, and then I'm pushing beyond him into cell 118. In almost every way, it's identical to the cells I've glimpsed through the tiny hallway windows. A rough cement floor, a rust-stained toilet, and a bucket full of water in which several cockroaches are revolving slowly. A tiny iron bed with a paper-thin mattress which someone has dragged into the very center of the room. But the walls. The walls are covered, crammed with writing. No, not writing. They are covered with a single 4-letter word that has been inscribed over and over on every available surface. Love. Looped huge and scratched just barely in the corners, inscribed in graceful script in solid block lettering, chipped, scratched, picked away, as though the walls were slowly melting into poetry. And on the ground, lying curled up against one wall, is a dull silver chain with a charm still attached to it. A ruby-encrusted dagger whose blade has been worn down to a small nub. My father's charm. My mother's necklace. My mother. All this time, during every long second of my life when I believed her dead, she was here, scratching, burrowing, chipping away, encased in the stone walls like a long-buried secret. I feel suddenly as though I am back in my dream, standing on a cliff as the solid ground disintegrates underneath me, transforms into the sand in an hourglass running away under my feet. I feel the way I do in that moment when I realize that all of the ground has vanished and I'm standing on a bare blade of air ready to drop. It's terrible, you see. Look at what the disease did to her. Who knows how many hours she spent scrabbling along these walls like a rat. Frank and Alex are standing behind me. Frank's words seem to be muffled by a layer of cloth. I take a step forward into the cell, suddenly fixated on a shaft of light extending like a long golden finger from a space in the wall that has been chipped clear away. The clouds must have begun to break apart outside. Through the hole on the other side of the stone fortress, I see the flashing blue of the Presumpscot River and leaves shifting and tumbling over one another, an avalanche of green and sun and the perfume of wild growing things. The wilds. So many hours, so many days, looping those same 4 letters over and over. That strange and terrifying word, the word that confined her here for over 10 years. And ultimately, the word that helped her escape. In the lower half of one wall, she has traced the words so many times in such enormous script. Love, each letter the size of a child, and gouged so deeply into the stone that the O has formed a tunnel, and she has gotten out.